Hello and welcome to this Beyond Shakespeare exploring session, not live, delayed live, shall we say, on the internet. And today we are looking at a new interlude of Impatient Poverty, newly imprinted in 1560. And from the little information that I have on this particular text, of which, sadly, because we're all sort of isolated at the moment, I haven't been able to get a modern edition. It is believed that this was performed not long before it was printed, somewhere in the mid-1550s. A best guess by Wiggins is 56. The general range is 1554 to 58. So probably within the reign of Queen Mary. And the printed text claims that 4 men may well and very easily play this interlude. This seems not to be a lie, which is always delightful. We, however, because we have many voices, have gone for lots and lots and lots of people in our largest a little group that we have thus far done. And I will now introduce you to these, or ask for that matter, for them to introduce themselves, the performers, who are not 4, but 7 or so. So, going round the room, could I ask Envy to introduce yourself?
Hi, I'm Alex Scott Fairley, and I'm playing the part of Envy. I'm an actor, and I live in the Highlands of Scotland.
Marvellous. And Conscience, please identify yourself.
Hi, I'm Sarah Blake. I'm a writer, director, actor. I run a small audiobook company, and I did have a little theatre company when I was in London, but I'm in Germany now, so that's good.
And playing, we think pronounced Colhazard,
is William Sutton. Beg your pardon. I'm an actor, and I live currently in Amsterdam.
Marvellous. And playing the summoner is...
Hi, I'm Glenn Thompson. I'm over here in America, and I am an actor, writer, director, teacher, scholar, whatever you need.
And playing the personification of peace is...
Pamela Flanagan. I'm an actor. I actually washed my hair today despite not leaving the house for 6 days, but there's no video, so you can't prove it.
Well, my hot water's down at the moment, so I wash my hair in a sink to come on today. So it's all swings and roundabouts here. And playing Abundance, we have...
Hi, I'm Sascha Cooper. I'm an actress, dancer, choreographer, hair and makeup artist, and holistic insightful life coach and psychic medium and reader based in Brighton in the UK. And I also do a little bit of voiceover as well, especially in these hard times. So I hope I can bring the joy of abundance to this production.
Marvellous. And reading Misrule is...
Stefanie. Hi, I'm based in Munich, and I'm a theatre director, teacher, and do sort of early modern research, which ends up as a performance from time to time or a conference paper. And after years of playing Puck, or once playing Puck, it's now over to Misrule.
And last but definitely not least, playing the variously named Impatient Poverty, Prosperity and Poverty, all one person, is...
My name's Stephen Longstaffe, and I'm a scholar of early modern theatre and an enthusiastic amateur participant in this kind of thing.
Marvellous. Right, well, we're going to crack straight on with the play itself. It begins with Peace making a bit of a speech, who is then joined by Envy, and we'll probably crack on until the entrance of another character after that. So, your best feet forward, give it some welly, and go Peace.
The puissant prince and innocent most pure, which humbly descended from the seat sempiternal, Illumine his beams of grace to every creature, to withstand the conflict of our enemies mortal. The devil, the world, and the flesh, these three in special, which setteth division between the soul and the body. In like wise envy setteth debate between party and party. I speak for this cause. Daily ye may see how that by envy and malice many be destroyed, which, if they had lived in peace with patient humility, riches and prosperity with them had been employed. For thereas is peace, no man is annoyed. For by peace men grow to great riches, and by peace men live in great quietness. I am named Peace, which envy doth us expel. Envy with me shall never rest, for envy is one of the pains of hell. When that he sojourneth within a man's breast, like the burning phoenix in her own nest, though she can none other hurt ne grieve, yet she doth not cease herself to mischieve.
Ah, sir, here was a long predication. Methought ye said in your communication to every man peace was most behoved.
Forsooth, and so said I.
That shall be proved contrary by and by, for by peace much people are undone.
What people are those?
The armourer, the fletcher, and the bowyer, mariners, gunners, and the poor soldier, yea, and also many another artificer, which I do not rehearse by name.
I say the universal people doth best obtain, whereas peace is ever abiding.
Thou liest, so God me help and halidom. For then were surgeons clean undone. Of them that will fight and break a pate, they get good living, both early and late. And what sayest thou by men of law? Their living were not worth a straw, and every man should live in peace.
That is not for the commons' increase, for by peace they profit in many a thing. Peace setteth amity between king and king. In time of peace, merchants have their course to pass and repass.
Thou liest, knave, by the mass. For under colour of peace much subtlety hath been wrought, and ships are taken the merchants dear have bought. Was that for their promotion? Nay, in time of war such a knave durst not stir. By the mass, were it not for shame, thou shouldst spare me a blow.
Hold thy hands, thou lewd fellow. Thou art of evil disposition, thus against peace to repugn, the which from heaven descended down to bring man out of captivity.
Ah, whoreson, why dost thou lie? When wert thou in heaven? Tell me by and by. How camest thou down? With a ladder or a rope?
It were no sin to hang thee by throat. Thy words be envious, not grounded on charity.
Sir, one thing, I pray you, tell me.
What is that?
Have ye any wife or no?
Wherefore ask ye so?
Because ye say peace is most expedient. If your wife made you cuckold, you being present, what would you do?
Give her such punishment as longeth thereto.
A false flattering whoreson, lo, now thou sayest against thine own declaration, if thou fight, where is then peace become?
I break not peace with doing due correction, for correction should be done charitably. Irresemini et nolite peccare.
I shall meet that at omnium quare. Peace should forgive and not be revenged. Hence, whoreson, by Our Lady of Walpit, I shall rap thee of the pate.
Go hence, wretch, thou make-bait. It were arms to set thee in Newgate. Ho! Master Constable, come near. Here is a wretch without reason. Take and put him in prison with as many irons as he can bear.
By Our Lady, I will come no near. A constable, quod, ha! Nay, that will I not abide, for I am loath to go shorter tide. Yet long, whoreson, for all thy pride, I shall meet with thee another day, when one of us two shall go a knave away.
Oh, thou wretch! Thou ought to remord that so far art exiled from charity. Lo, he thinketh not how meekly his Maker and Lord suffered reprieve, and died upon a tree, giving us example that with humility every man should follow his trace, that in heaven will claim a place.
Okay, we will pause there. So we have got the good figure of peace there. We've been here before. Laying out their stall, telling everyone in the audience, and then interrupted by envy. There's a little bit of a sort of debate element here that's quite interesting, and envy immediately going in for the violence as well, or the threat of violence, and the sense of coming or going of envy constantly stopping peace, who I don't know whether peace wants to leave themselves or not. And envy appearing to exit without a stage direction there. I'm assuming there's an exit there because peace seems to be talking to themselves. So I'll drop that to the room in just a second. For note by Our Lady of Woolpit, that's I think that's a reference to Sussex. I think I found a reference there somewhere. We have the threat of prison and Newgate again. We do seem to get an awful lot of prison references, don't we?
Just a bit.
Okay, I'll drop this to the floor. Liza, do you have anything?
Oh yeah, just that we have the conflict, as we often do in morality plays, between what makes good morality and what makes good theater. And obviously in this scene, peace is the good guy, but envy's going to get the most laughs. And envy is, as it were, the most human, the most relatable character. And we've all got a little envy in here somewhere. And envy makes, tries to set peace up for the gotcha on a bunch of occasions. How, when is peace good for everyone? What about if your trade is war? What about if you make weapons? What about if you're a surgeon? And then we get the cuckoldry joke, which, those medieval people, or early modern people, they loved their cuckoldry jokes. So yeah, good first scene.
Excellent. Any other thoughts from the floor? It's still quite early, so don't feel too pressured.
If I may share. Oh, no.
Emily. Emily first, and then Mischief.
Then I will be very brief. Hi, I'm Emily, actor, scholar, teaching artist, what have you. It reminds me very much of the introduction to Musidorus, which is pretty much just a big argument between comedy and envy. With envy also like getting the audience side because they like to cause trouble, but they're also very human, and it's just something within them, and it's just very interesting to see that trope carry on within the play, because it's something that a lot of audiences back then must have recognized and enjoyed. Yeah, those are my thoughts.
And in terms of time, there's not actually that much time between those two plays.
Right,
So Musidorus is a little later, but it's not real as a distance, especially with publication. Stefanie, you wanted to say?
Going back to what Liza said, I was saying about, sorry, I've just lost the thread, unfortunately. But about theatre and virtues, or that opposition, I find, like, thanks to the actors, what we are hearing here, it's really this introduction to the whole play. The prologue is really about the floor, who will have the floor, and would be really interesting in terms of staging, because the way you're reading it, you're being very, very careful to listen to each other, and we can hear you retracting within your voice and moving forward again, and therefore it becomes a real argument. It's really exciting to listen to you. Thank you.
It is this thing I say when we've recorded debate plays in the past. They're not debate plays, they're argument plays. You want to win your argument, so a couple of bits that there very much reminded me of some of the stuff we've done before. But we will crack on, unless anyone has a burning thing. Yes.
Could I possibly add something in that this might be slightly outside the temporal period of this play, but what this really strongly reminds me of is actually present-day conventional pantomime in the United Kingdom, because exactly what you have on stage, the pantomime I did at Christmas, has the two immortals, and they might now be called Carabosse and the Good Fairy, but they're essentially rehearsing exactly the same argument. And going back to what Liza said, it tends to be the good fairy who the audience is supposed to identify with and support, but it's certainly the villain who gets all the laughs and all the funny lines. Basically, it's still a trope we have today.
No, absolute excellent point. Yes, that popular theatre tradition of really the interplay with the audience and what the audience is doing with this as well is a question, because they probably would have seen plays that have done this game before, and that's what Panto feeds into. Every year the same games are played with just a slightly different script, and so that's actually part of the fun, and that's why it's slightly harder for us to get into these plays, because we're not living with these traditions in the same way. Right, we have assuming that Envy had exited there, we have the entrance of a new character. Enter Impatient Poverty, and we will crack on with that. Impatient Poverty chatting with Peace.
Keep, for God's face.
Why art thou so out of patience?
The knave would arrested me. I owe him but 40 pence. He shall abide, by God's dear blessed.
Take heed, my friend. Thus saith the text, in little meddling standeth great rest. Therefore, pay thy duty well and honestly, with few words discreetly. Another time ye shall be the better trust.
That will I never do while I live. Let him do his best. I'd liever lay all my good to pledge to get a writ of privilege. So may I go by his nose at large, spite of his teeth, whosoe'er say nay.
This is but a wilful mind. If thou wilt not pay thy very duty, which cannot be denied, getting of thy writ and expense in the law will cost more than thy duty. This well I know. Thy debt therewith cannot be paid. It is only a deferring of the payment.
Yet the knave shall not have his intent.
Thou shalt pay by rightful judgment, for the law is indifferent to every person.
I see thou holdest on his opinion. Yet I set not by you both a rish, and I meet the knave, I shall hew his flesh. Help him, thou old churl, and thou can.
I see thou art an evil-disposed man. I utterly forsake thy condition.
Marry, avaunt! Long, precious whoreson. I set not by thee, nor him, I make God a vow. I'm as good a man as thou, for all thy good. Let it be tried by a manhood. Thereto I give thee my glove.
All such warriors I do reprove, for peace loveth not to fight.
No, old fool, thou hast lost thy might. In age is naught else but cowardice.
Youth with his courage light, nor strength with multitude I do thee plight, are not only the cause of victory.
No, good sir. What then?
Grace and good governance of man. For with good discretion they began that were the great winners of victory.
Then victory is gotten by discretion. I pray you, sir, show me this lesson, how to come to riches. That is all my care, for I am ever in great necessity. Meat and drink with me is scarcity, no man will trust me of a penny. Also, my clothes are but bare. Good sir, what say you therein?
I hold it punishment for thy sin. Show me, what is thy name?
I'm named Impatient Poverty.
Forsooth, that may full well be. Thou art so full of wrath and envy. In thee can grow no grace. But if thou wilt forsake sensuality and be governed by reason, as I shall introduce thee, thou shalt come to riches within short space.
Show me that now in this place. Thereto I will agree.
Thou must love thy neighbour with charity. Do unto him no manner of disease. Look how thou would he did to thee. Do him no worse in no degree, and then thou shalt our Lord please.
Shall I love him that loveth not me? Those that trouble and rebuke me shamefully? That I will never do while I live.
Thou must charitably all faults forgive, whatsoever any man to thee say. Let as thou heard it not, turn thine ear away. Thou shalt please God if thou so do.
Nay, by God! Pharaoh, what is he in all this place that will do as this man said? Show me, or I go. If a man do you a great offence, will ye keep your patience? Nay, by God, not so. I put case. I break your head. Will you suffer that in very deed?
To suffer, for Christ's sake, I shall have need.
That shall I know by God's bread.
Hold thy hand and keep patience. Think what Christ suffered for our offence. He was beaten, scourged, and spit on with violence, and suffered death for our sake. Yet he took it patiently. He forgave his death and prayed for his enemies. Pater dimite ilias. His saying was truly an example for us to take. To be meek in heart, beate popare spiritu. Shall Christ say full even, et venite benedici. Come, my blessed children, to the kingdom of heaven.
I thank you for your ghostly instruction. Unto your saying I can make no delayance. I put me under your governation, and for my ill deeds I take great repentance.
Then, to my saying, take good remembrance. Exercise yourself in virtue from this time hence, and unto peace.
Oh, Pamela, we've lost you there for a second, Pamela. Are you there?
I'm here. Can you hear me?
Okay. Could you just start that speech from the top of that speechette? We're nearly at a break.
Then, to my saying, take good remembrance. Exercise yourself in virtue from this time hence, and unto peace evermore be obedient. Set before every sharp word a shield of sufferance, and when time is of your concupiscence, then pacify it with benign resistance.
Sir, grant mercy that ye have brought me to this estate. By your advertisement I am willing to live in Christ's law, whereas I have offended him both early and late. I served him not for love, nor for awe. Therefore, now right well I know that poverty and misery that I my life in lead is but only punishment for my misdeed.
Now, or we any further proceed, hold this vesture and put it on thee. From henceforth thou shalt be called Prosperity.
I thank God, and you. I am in felicity.
Now, unto you I shall here shew of such things as ye shall eschew. First, your soul, look that ye keep clean. Beware of misrule in any wise. Play not at cales, cards, nor dice. Also, from miswomen, for by them mischief may rise, as it doth often. This daily is seen. Haunt no taverns, nor sit not up late. Let not hazard nor rioter with you be checkmate. For then will envy come and make debate, the which shall cause great trouble. Be plentiful of such as God hath sent, unto the poor people give with good intent. For every penny that so is spent, God will send thee double. Take heed and do as I have said.
Sir, therewith I hold me well apaid. As ye have commanded me, it shall be done.
Then let us depart for a season. If ye need, I will be your protection.
And they exit, and there are lots and lots of things that come out of that. First of all, well done. You really sold that scene, actually, and it's one of the better conversions we've had this week. We've had a few conversions. We're all quite convinced that the one in youth at the beginning of the week was really peremptory, whereas this one, there's a nice journey. There's a bit of resistance, and you really sold it really well. And I love that sense of Stephen, where you were almost like you were making a list. You were going, "Oh yeah, that I really liked." And that point of impatient poverty turning to the audience and making that appeal there. Is there any man would do as Christ did, which is nicely demonstrating it. I mean, the only thing that I found that was a bit odd is in the sense that it's probably a doubling thing, is of course you come on and you complain about something that happened off stage to you earlier, and that's an interesting thing. But I'll open it now to the floor to see thoughts out there. Who's got something to say thus far?
This certainly is starting to feel just a bit like a writing assignment for a class. Go home and write a morality play. and there it is. You got your basic shape. I mean, it's really strong. It's a really interesting start to this piece. But I think it's going to be shaping up as we get more characters coming in. We're just going to see that pile on and build, and it just feels like somebody said, "Here's your prompt. Go ahead."
Yes, it does. It does seem bitty at the moment, and we'll see whether structurally that changes. Anything from our audience?
Well, to that point, often these plays are a series of scenes that are sort of one plot thing happens and then the scene ends and something else happens. Although, some of them, I think in Health and Wealth tomorrow, we get some scenes that contain a bit more story. Like you said earlier, I love poverty breaking the fourth wall and saying, can any of you do what this man says? I love how in this genre of play, characters establish and keep that relationship with the audience. And these are all, it's the source of 1,000 internet advice things even today. It's like, how do I get rich? How do I go from being arrested for debt over 40 pence to being prosperous? With a side order of early modern, well, the poor deserve to be poor because they're sinful, and only if you're humble and peaceful and don't object to being poor will you have a hope of getting out of it, which, for keeping the peace in early modern society is, I guess, a quite hopeful line to take. But I'm guessing a lot of people who were actually in poverty might not have been so peaceful about it.
Yes, there's not really much indication that this text would ever have been performed for people who are living in poverty. So it's very much preaching perhaps to the converted. And we have a name change. We have a rebranding of a character, because if you rebrand yourself, then you become a new you. And I don't know if there's a sort of self-help book quality to that.
Well, that too is interesting in a play where there's so much multi-rolling, where the same actor will come back in a different outfit and be a different person, but then this is the same person who's changed. So like, if you were directing this play, you'd have to have some way to distinguish that from the characters who are multi-rolling.
Yeah.
Can I offer? Oh, sorry.
No. Go, Emily.
Can I offer a staging idea, like for the vesture, like piece, just put on a sign that says prosperity on it, so that way now we know, or like a little name tag that says like, hello, my name is, and it's just prosperity underneath.
Yeah, but I mean, what's happened to prosperity? He's not actually materially more prosperous just because they've just changed. I mean, what quality is coming about here? What's actually materially changing here? It's quite a weird act, actually, in terms of the meaning of what we think perhaps for Because of course he's not only is he poor, but he's impatient about being poor and therefore running himself into more debt. Again,
peace has taught him patience.
Mm.
And at the end of the scene, of course, he says, when he's prosperity, he says, "Sir, therewith I hold me well apaid."
Mm.
So even though the council wasn't a material good, it was a spiritual good.
Mm. Any more? How are you finding your performance as impatient poverty as opposed to being prosperity?
It's difficult, isn't it? I think you've just got to forget the sort of modern psychology that things need to be prepared for. You know, conversion can literally just happen, and I can't really remember how it goes from here. So I thought, well, let's try it as sincere as I can manage it, and see where that leaves us. So, not worrying too much about, I'd probably get drummed out of the Stanislavski club.
I think you're fine. You're fine here for that. You're fine here for that. Okay. He hasn't been born, and he won't be born for a very, very long time. Now, I could have been wrong there when talking about Envy having exited, because Envy, again, there is a stage direction for the entrance of Envy much further on, so it's just collided into the end of somebody else's thing. So we're going to have now a totally different scene with some totally different characters. We have the entrance of abundance and conscience. And actually, in the last scene, we did just have the mention of concupiscence, which I can't remember actually the definition of, which I should do. I titled the play it. Anyone remember what that is?
Dude.
Lustfulness.
Yeah, which is very odd within the line that it was in, and that's why it was confusing me. There is a personification of concupiscence in a fragmentary play, and had great fun with the idea of a sort of sex vampire. Has no dialogue; it just sort of exits, going. Or at least in my version, it does. So, can we go with abundance and conscience, please?
Joy and solace be in this hall. Is there no man here that knoweth me at all? I am beloved, both with great and small. Abundance is my name. I have all things as me list, meat, drink, and cloth of the best. Gold and silver full is every chest. In faith, I will not lean. I think ye know not my ways. How I get goods nowadays, by a proper mean. Think you that I would lend either silver or gold? That day shall not be seen, but I will lend them where that shall be both bad and dear. Not worth the money he shall pay, and if he can get no surety get of my ware, he getteth right naught without a good pledge he lay. Then will I for mine avail, he shall make a bill of sale, to me full bought and sold. If the day be expired and past, then will I hold it fast. He shall not have it, though he would. Thus craft I have long used, and some men do not yet refuse it. This is be openly known. What is he in all this town that will lend without singular commodum? Should I lend without a profit? Nay, then I hold naught worth my wit.
All this ye say is against conscience.
Conscience, quotha? Nay, then shall we never thrive, for I know him not alive by conscience that cometh to substance. I have all manner of marchandy. I sell for long days to them that are needy, and for the payment I have good surety, bound in statute merchant, because I may forbear. I sell my ware so dear, I make 40 of 20 in half a year. Rather other men do so well as I.
Even sin very shame, marry, fie. These goods are gotten untruly. Many a man is undone thereby, to take this ware so dear.
They seek to me both far and near. Methink it a good deed to help a man at his need. Yet I have other means whereby I get gains. I think ye know not that.
I? No, God, what?
No, ye are but an idiot. I sold a man as much ware as came to £40, and in an obligation I had him bound to pay me at a certain day. And when the bargain was made plain, mine own servant bought the same ware again for the 3rd penny it cost. Ye what I mean. But was not this a wise way?
Thou shalt repent it another day. I charge thee, as far as I may, such false ways never begin.
Wherefore? This is no sin. It is plain buying and selling. Lawful it is for a man to win, else rich shall he never be.
Winning to be had with due sufficience in true buying and selling is not to discommend. But for thy false usury thou art cursed in the sentence. I pray God give thee grace for to amend.
Is every man accursed that doth buy and sell? Then shall no man with merchandise mell. How shall the world then be uphold?
Nay, sir, amiss you do understand me. All those that occupy false usury and transgresseth the laws of God by iniquity, all such are accursed, are you told. As for buying and selling, needs must be, and God commandeth to lend to them that are needy, so it be not to their injury, for lucre to them sold.
How should I sell? Show me your ways.
Ye may not sell the dearer for days. If you do, it is contrary to God's laws.
It is used in our country.
It is the more pity. One such is able to destroy a city, and God show not his great mercy, all such are damned by his equity.
God forfend that should be. How shall men do that be of great reputation, which kept their goods on this same fashion, by usury, deceit, and by extortion? I do so myself. Wherefore should I lie?
Thou mayst be the more sorry.
It is so now. What remedy?
To make restitution.
What call ye restitution?
Restore such goods as ye have gotten wrongfully, by oppression.
Then shall I have little in my possession. I will make God amends another way. I will fast, and I will pray, and I will give alms every day. That I have done amiss. I am sorry, therefore.
That is not sufficient. Thou must restore. Quia non dimititur peccatum, nisi restituitur ablatum. You must restore to them ye have offended unto.
Then I shall show you what I shall do. I will put it in my testament that my executors shall pay and content. For while I live, I will not have my goods spent, for if I do, I am but spilt.
Make amends, man, for thy guilt. Rather spoil thy body than spoil thy soul.
Men of substance are ashamed to fall.
That causeth them to rest in their sin.
Yet ever with thy strongest heart renneth the ball.
Yesterday thou canst not again call. When thou art dead, the gate of mercy is shut. You cannot come in.
Then let him stand without.
So of thy soul thou hast no doubt.
When thou seest my soul torn, set on a clout, if falsehood, usury, and extortion should not rout, thousands in this realm should be put out. The 3rd part should not bide by St. Paul.
Yet often falsehood hath a great fall. An example, by King Ahab, which is Soth, desired the vineyard of that poor man Naboth, by counsel of Jezebel, that king's wife. because he would not sell his possession of 2 false witnesses, he was peached of high treason, and through the mouth of a false quest it rave, which caused the poor man to lose both land and life. After that, of God's own bidding, came Helias the prophet to Ahab the king, saying he should have evil ending. And so he had, for by the way as he rode, he fell and brake his neck, where dogs lapped his blood. This example to all usurers and oppressors, as thinketh me, should cause them of God's sore adread to be.
Sir, you preach very holily, but our deeds be often contrary. Yet be so acquainted with covetise and simony that make us to take the same way.
So every evil-disposed person doth say. The frailty of man doth often offend, then call for grace and shortly amend. Therefore I counsel thee to pretend to repent, and be sorry for thy misdeed.
Ha! Yes, thus I will my life lead, for of your saying I take no heed. Ye will mucker up both gold and treasure. Ye have riches without measure, and of the flesh ye have your pleasure. You can find no ways to amend yourself, I you ensure. Therefore, rebuke not me for my sin ne good. God be with you, ye shall not rule me.
Oh, dull wit, plunged by ignorance, regarding nothing of ghostly instruction, setting more his mind on worldly substance than on the everlasting life that is to come. God will strike when he list, you know not how soon. Therefore to every man this counsel I give, to be sorry for your sin, and do penance while ye live. Oh,
and we will pause there, because again, we don't have a stage direction indicating the exit of abundance, but abundance's last line, God be with you, you shall not rule me, seems very much an exit point, and conscience bridges the gap for the imminent entrance of envy. I think there is an interesting structural difficulty with doing a play with 4 actors, which means that when you've got people changing or turning around, you potentially only have 2 or 3 actors available, and it becomes very, very difficult to construct scenes. And I'm wondering if that's slightly, and here is a scene with 2 people having a discussion, here is another scene with a couple of people having a discussion, is a structural necessity. It's quite difficult to make it flow dramatically because you don't have enough bodies, potentially. I found this actually doing audio shows with 3-4 actors of turning over casts. You don't have the change issues because you just do a silly voice, but it does seem to be that there's a structural component to that. Abundance I like a lot. There's a lot of goods in Everyman there, that sort of personification of money and wealth and just mine, which is really fun to play with. Thoughts from the floor?
What you were saying about there just not being the actors. I mean, I guess there might not have been the room either. That also ties in with what you were saying about it being like an audio play. I mean, depending on where this was put on, you know, you might not have actually had the space for more than like 2 or 3 actors. I'm thinking about, you know, if it was done in a private home or in a, I don't know, a guild hall or something, there might not have actually been that much space, maybe.
There's a lot of references in plays to that there is get out of the way, no, stop, move, there, that you have physically to force audiences out of the way, that the indoor playing spaces don't tend to be large. But also it's just a thing, you never know what space, if this is part of a group that's doing some touring, they will not know what space they've got, and so they can't, so there's a physical truncation there. But just simply, if you can only afford, you know, or find 4 actors and it's designed for that's a sort of structural issue. Any some price gouging as well, I quite like the mentioned there about price elasticity of demand, I believe they call it. Any other thoughts on the floor about this little CNET?
I mean, even playing somebody like Abundance, it's quite an interesting sort of thing. Again, I'm looking at themes more than characterization, but it's interesting how there's a very strong conflict between abundance and conscience a lot of the time. Again, it just makes me wonder whether in the era itself, you had all the class differences, and I'm wondering if in a way this was a very big send up of that. So maybe even not necessarily a structural thing, but a social observation at the time, maybe, to send up the real divisory sort of classes that were going on at the time, and how people need to rethink certain things. And I think, especially with what we're going through now, this is very relevant. Do we indulge in what we have money-wise and really live like a king, or do we hold on to that, use it wisely, like Conscience is suggesting, and actually using it more to what is really needed? So there's a lot of ethical wars going on there, I think, which is very interesting.
It does seem to, with a debate, it's setting up two very opposite characters, or it's all about the oppositions. We don't seem to have middle ground figures coming through here.
No.
It's all extremes, which I don't know whether we have plays with sort of someone sitting on the fence. Any additional thoughts before we move forward? I'm seeing shaking of heads. Okay. Conscience remains on stage, having, I say, covered the exit of Abundance, who's presumably going off to hoodwink someone out of some money at terrible rates of interest or something. Nice little lengthy bit of biblical referencing there, which is a reference I don't really get, but I'm sure that's one to look into in the future. And here cometh Envy in, laughing, and saith to Conscience,
Now in faith I would ye had be there.
Where should I have be?
A better sport ye never see.
Whereat laugh you so fast?
He to go, and she after, and within a while he caught her. He took of her an in-croak, and chopped her on the heel with his foot. Anon he whipped her on the back. Ah, whoreson, quod she, playest thou me that? And with her heel she gave him a spat, that he was fain to go back again.
Good fellow, thou art to blame such words to have. No good thou can.
I said it to make you sport and game. I cry you mercy, I was to blame. I see ye are some virtuous man.
Shortly hence that way thou came, for here thou shalt not be.
Good Lord, some succour thou send me, that I be not outcast.
What is thy name? Shortly show me.
I dare not, sir, by Christ Jesu, except ye keep it privily.
Fear not, say on heartily.
Sir, my right name is Charity. Sometime beloved I was with the spirituality, but now covetous and simony doth them so advance that good institution is turned to other ordinance, and bonum exemplum is put to such hindrance that here I dare not appear.
Simony is not now in the spiritualty. Bonus pastor ovium thereto will see. Therefore, methink this is a lie. In holy church simony cannot abide.
He goeth in a cloak, he cannot be espied, and covetous so craftily doth provide that bonus pastor ovium is blind and will not see.
This that ye speak is upon envy. Therefore I think ye be not charity, for charity always will say the best.
Amongst them can I have no rest.
How do ye with temporality?
There is pride, sloth, and lechery, which putteth me from that place.
Then be ye with the commonalty?
They despise me utterly. One of them love not another. The sister cannot love the brother, nor the child the father nor mother. There I dare not show my face.
This is to me a strange case. What hear ye by Conscience?
Spiritual and temporal set against him marvellously. Merchants, men of law, and artificers of every degree. They will hang him, and they him he espy. Such exclamation goeth through this realm round.
Why? What fault have they found with him, so to do?
His wit is naught, they say. Also, every man putteth his will thereto to banish him for ever.
I know well it is not as ye say, for I am Conscience, the high judge of the law.
Be he Conscience, alas, that ever I this day saw. If ye be taken, ye shall be hanged and draw, for they have utterly put you down and set covetous in your room. Subtlety the scribe, his own cousin, and falsehood the sumner for the court's promotion.
I marvel wherefore this was done.
When riches came before you, that much will pay. There he had lived in sin many a day. Ye should for money let him go quit away, and put him to no shame. Let poverty do penance for a little offence. He is not able to promote you of 20 pence. Then should ye have kept your residence, and gotten yourself a good name.
Whoso doeth, they are to blame in misordering them in such wise.
Wis, cousin, I show you as now is the guise. For by covetous much people doth uprise, which is against both you and me.
Charity, I pray you show what remedy in this matter for me may be found.
Shortly, get you to wilderness or some other region, for they will hang you up at the Tyburn if they find you in this place, and I must depart also.
This to me is much sorrow and woe. I will go into some far country. Farewell, gentle cousin Charity.
I shall pray for you. Pray ye for me. This is an heavy departing.
Okay, just pause there. This is quite interesting because we have lots of plays from before this and after where people pretend to be a better person than they are, that a vice character comes in. We've been recording Res Publica recently, which has lengthy business setting up this kind of action. But here, it's not set up at all. Mm. And it's like Conscience has to sort of suspiciously ask whether envy is envy, not really charity, to make clear to the audience that it is who he is before he will do a little speech in a moment. So it's an interesting way round, and I think it's because it's part of a convention. This happens a lot in plays, so people are used to this happening. It's like when we're talking about panto conventions of, we all know in the UK the kind of conventions that you do in a pantomime. You don't need it explaining. And otherwise it's just what the hell is going on. And that's what I'm feeling here, because it's a sort of back to front scene for me. Any thoughts out there?
I mean, we still do this in TV and movies today. Mm. Even if you've known the character, they'll still say the character's name 2 or 3 times in a scene just to remind you who the person is. And that's, I think it's just interesting. We haven't lost that. And in this case, it's the cause of uprooting some deception, but we're still establishing, hey, here's who we are and here's who we're, so that you know who you're looking at.
Mm. It does feel like we might be having the introduction of plot any second now.
Almost.
So, William, were you going to say something there?
No, I wasn't. I just laughed.
Any other thoughts? Yes.
It's an interesting, just sort of as a cold read, it's an interesting bookend to that first scene where Impatient Poverty is rebranded very obviously by someone else as prosperity, and now this is sort of envy doing the same for himself under his own steam. Mm. It just struck me. It's an they bookend that scene in the middle with abundance and conscience. Mm. Sort of the same trope played a slightly different way, I guess.
Yeah. I also really loved Conscience when what hear ye by conscience? You just go. It's like when you're in conversation with someone who's heard something about you and they mention your name and you're going, you don't know who I am. What did they say about me? What? That's a really nice moment. I liked that.
It's actually thinking about it as well. It's have you got the beginnings of a dramatic arc there? because, you know,
Well-
conscience, when abundance is there, is very confident and like, oh, you have to listen to me, and I know what I'm doing, and I am right. And then by the time conscience leaves, he's like, oh my God, whoa. You know, so there's actually I hesitate to use the phrase, but he kind of goes on a dramatic journey. So
Well, that's what we're going to find out, isn't it? I think we're all scrabbling around hoping that there's going to be a journey, and that's where it's going. So let us return to Envy, who's going to be joined by Prosperity in a moment. So returning characters have started to occur. So Envy's obviously just come back, and Prosperity will be coming back in a moment. So Envy, you have the floor.
I can in no wise forbear weeping, yet kiss me or ye go, for sorrow my heart will break in two. Is he gone? Then have it laughing. Ha ha, sir, is not this a jolly game, that conscience doth not know my name? Envy, in faith, I am the same. What needeth me for to lie? I hate conscience, peace, love, and rest. Debate and strife, that love I best, according to my property. When a man loveth well his wife, I bring them at debate and strife. This is seen daily. Also between sister and brother, there shall no neighbour love another where I dwell by. And now, I tell you plain, of one man I have disdain. Prosperity, men do him call. He is nigh of my blood, and he to have so much worldly good that grieveth me worst of all.
Jesus, that is both steadfast and stable, ever perseverant and never mutable, he saved his congregation.
Welcome, poverty, by cock's passion. How have ye done this many a day?
I thank God, as well as any may. Ye call me wrong. My name is Prosperity.
Prosperity, with an evil hap. How the devil fortunest that? I knew thee impatient poverty.
Whosoever I was, let that matter pass. Take me as I am.
I cry you mercy. I was to blame to call you by your old name. Yet all these people think ye are the same impatient poverty as I said before.
Avaunt! I tell thee, I am gentleman Boar. I hear thee report such words any more, thou shalt be punished like a knave.
A knave, quadder? By cock's passion, I am your own cousin, and nigh of your consanguinity.
Thou and I are not of one affinity.
If I were a rich man, ye would not say so by me. Ye would then say I were your next kinsman on live.
I say go hence, sorry. Prosperity?
Sorry, I cut out there for a minute. Where are we up to?
I say go hence.
I say go hence and make no more strife. I set not by such a poor Hascard.
Sir, do not ye know my name?
I know thee not, by St. James.
Charity and faith, I am the same. What needeth me for to lie? I am your cousin, and so will I die. Ye may be glad such a kinsman to have.
Shall we have more ado yet, thou knave? I charge thee, never know me for thy kin.
I pray you one word, or I go.
I'll say on shortly, then have I do.
Sir, I have of gold 300 pound in a bag fast abound, at home locked in my chest. I purpose to go to Jerusalem. Ye shall keep it till I come again. I put you best in trust.
Cousin, I would fain do the best, because ye are near of my blood.
What? Are you now in that mood? Now I am your kinsman because of my good. Before of me he had disdain.
Well, as for that, I was to blame. I knew ye not. Be not angry. Ye are welcome to me, cousin Charity.
Then all these matters let be. I come hither with you to dwell. You must have more servants, I do you tell, such as were necessary for your person.
I am content, after your provision. In everything let it be done, as ye think most expedient.
Sir, I shall do mine intent to get you servants more.
I pray you heartily it may be so. A little season I will from you go, to solace me with some recreation.
He that sitteth above the moon evermore be in your protection. Ah, here is sport for a lord, that prosperity and I be well at accord. I shall bring his thrift under the board, I trust within short space. For it grieveth my heart right sore, he hath so much treasure in store, and I have never the more. I must find some proper shift, that from his good he may be lift. To bring him to Misrule, I hold it best, for he can soon bring it to pass.
And here Misrule singeth, which I won't make anyone do. There's a really interesting thing that I just made the note that Prosperity seems to be trying too hard with his goodness as he comes in. I think it's the envy sees through him very quickly, and that's my thought there. That that sudden instant, well, not quite instant conversion isn't quite holding. He's trying too hard to keep it in place. I don't know if others felt that, or whether I'm overreading that.
Yeah, I think his sin is vanity, because when envy says, "Oh, you used to be impatient poverty," where you're not, the right answer, as conscience and peace would surely tell him, is, "I was poverty, but God elevated me," or "I found Jesus," or something. Whereas he says, no, I'm a gentleman born. I was never poor. I was never poverty. So here we've got poverty linked with shame.
That's a really good point.
Yeah, and following that, it's also a really interesting exploration of exploitation, weakness, and all sorts. I'm just wondering whether this is going to be quite an interesting slant into a downfall of some kind. You never know.
Yeah, I think you may be reading the runes well there. Yeah, so we have mention of a plot to do with money as well, and there's lots potentially to go as we've sort of hit a little beyond the halfway point in the text. Here we have a new character entering. Here, Misrule singeth. We will take that as read, Misrule. Without coming in. So you're singing from a distance, and envy can hear you.
How? What Rutterkin have we here? I would he were our subchanter, because he can so well sing.
Venir veque vous gentils compagnons, faites bonne chère pour l'amour de Saint John, mon cœur jucund, he sat on a merry pin. By my troth, I'm disposed to revelling.
So me thinketh by your coming in. What, Misrule, where hast thou been many years?
By my troth, even amongst my peers, I came now straight from the stews, from little pretty Joan. Lord, that she is a pretty one.
Hold thy peace, let that alone. Hark, a word or twain to thee. I dwell now with Prosperity, which hath much worldly treasure. If thou can contrive in thy thought how that he may be brought to naught, in all this world I desire no more.
Take no thought, therefore. I can provide for that in the best wise.
Then let me hear thy device.
I will bring him to clash cards and dice, and proper trulls that be wanton and nice, which will not be kept with a small price. How thinkest thou? Will not this do well?
Yes, but hearken in counsel. Thou must change thy name.
I will say I hide mirth.
And I will say the same. Peace, whist, I see him come.
Enter Prosperity.
God save all this honourable company.
Sir, you be welcome by our blessed lady. I have thought for you full long. Here is a gentleman. I pray you for my sake, say he is welcome, and into your service him take, for great courtesy he can.
Sir, you be welcome. Give me your hand, and show me what is your name.
Sir, my name is Mirth, beloved with lords and ladies of birth, and Every triumph I am them with, they can me not once forbear.
And ye had sought this 1,000 years, such another ye shall not find. Wherefore I counsel you in my mind, let him dwell with you for 1 year.
Prosperity?
Sorry,
Ooh.
connectivity.
Yeah.
At your request, I am content. Such a pretty man for me were expedient, and of his counsel fain would I hear.
Ye must sing and dance and make good cheer. Or would ye had some proper wench that were young and lusty? At a pinch, her heel were not so broad an inch, she would quicken your courage.
Peace hath forbid all that outrage.
He would set you at dotage because he is old and nature is past. He would now every man should fast. If ye do, so ye do but waste, and unto you no meed.
A straw for him, ye have no need of him to stand in awe or dread. A merry life now may ye lead. Therefore, be at your liberty.
By my troth, I may say to thee, since I did to him assent, and I never married day. Well, I lived in fear and dread all way, nothing to mine intent. Another while I will me sport, sing and dance to my comfort.
And among merry company do resort, for that shall length your life.
Bear neither maid ne wife, take both, and they come in your way.
Off with this lewd array, it becometh you naught by this day.
By my troth, even as you say, yea, marry, now am I well apaid. Methinketh I am properly arrayed. If I had a proper troll, she should be assayed in the worship of the new year.
Rush up mutton, for beef is dear, have and revel and chance.
Now let us both sing and dance. Will you have a French round?
And thou shalt see me bounce above the ground with rebel dance.
And yes, we can assume that they do a bit of a dancing here. And therefore create a bit of chaos for the entrance of Peace in just a moment. Can we have a little round of applause for Misrule's shrubbery
yes.
there?
Like proper globes here.
Lots of lovely things in there. Peace, you've just been given a note that you are potentially an old man, by the way, if you hadn't known. We don't know for certain if that's literal, but that is a reference to you. So, well cast by me as usual.
Absolutely.
Once again, we have a riotous, misruleous figure coming from a bawdy house from the stews. Probably drinking, doing all the naughty things, dice and games and etc. And again, very much what we've been playing with all week, really. This is we're really we're hitting a groove with this. Any thoughts from the room about that little sequence before we move on?
Oh, so many thoughts.
Go ahead.
Well, I mean, particularly we were talking about the name change earlier, and I just can't stop thinking about. I mean, if you think about his initial name, it's Impatient Poverty. As quickly as things change, he's ready to go along and do something else entirely, and I think we can't forget that.
It's like from one extreme to the other, isn't it?
Right,
right. You know, it's yeah, and just to kind of follow on from that wonderful point there, Glenn, the whole thing as well with the sheer craziness of the scene. Again, it's just very much indicated the weakness of the main character and how much they can be taken advantage of. And it's interesting because all the way this play so far has explored all the different vices and what can bring us down a lot of the time. So interestingly enough, now I'm thinking, especially with the quick change, I wonder what the hell's going to happen next. The quick change again, you know. Can't keep up.
Yeah, it's so much about. Sorry.
Yeah,
Go
no.
first. No, it's so much about impermanence, in poverty, impermanence,
Right.
in poverty, new word, and poverty and impermanence go together in a way. And by now, there's such an absence of peace, and it's like the absence of that voice and the absence of Pamela in a way, because she's been reading it with such serenity and serendipity, and that's really interesting, I find.
Yes,
So the character of each voice and the characteristic of each virtue.
Well, it's the fact that we've got peace entering into a cacophony now, which is lovely.
Now that she's most missed.
Yeah, and the play really does come alive when you've got more than two people just having that one set of two. You know, now that we've got a dynamic going, the play really comes to life.
And by the way, like with the tambourine you were bringing in there, there would have probably been a communal dance with the audience.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, all bets are off in terms of what could be happening with the music and dance here, because they probably have access to, you know, they're probably all very good singers, because they could be boys from singing boys available. They'll have access to music and really probably excellent musicians all the time. So what they're doing here, they might be spoofing a formal dance that might be part of an entertainment or random things. There's so many options about how to stage this, which is really nice. I like options.
Yeah, I like the idea of a communal dance or a communal song, because it makes the audience complicit. Similarly, if Abundance at their entrance were to hand out chocolates or something before they start talking
let's
about
stage that immediately.
And I could just see, I could also, actually following on from that, I could just see Misrule literally handing out the free drinks, trying to get everybody completely pissed.
Or taking everybody's drinks.
Yeah. So the question in this scene, I think, is, you know, it's one that we all face, which is, are you going to do the right thing, or are you going to do the fun thing? You know, are you going to spend your quarantine doing yoga, or are you just going to get a pack of chocolate digestives and say sod it? You know.
Again, it's like the abundance thing. You know, with all the money in the world. Again, you know, it's almost reflected in a way with envy, because when you get that completely taken away from you, what else are you going to do? You're going to be causing all the mischief in the world and deflecting all these negative feelings about what you don't have. And that's clearly what's happening in this scene, because in a way, envy wants what poverty's got. He wants what Misrule's got. He wants what a little bit of everybody's got. So actually, the chaos comes from this deflection of, oh, but I want that of you. Oh, I'm so jealous.
Yeah, and that's a really good point. And we also we see, you know, when Impatient Poverty first entered, he said his question of peace is, you know, how can I get rich? And the desire for wealth corrupts, but also wealth, when you have it, corrupts you.
That's right.
So that's a whole thing.
Stefanie?
I'd like to make a suggestion. So on Saturday, when there is no play, we're going to do our improvised version of a new play, a new sort of early modern play called Chaos Comes from Deflection.
I'm in.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's yours. It's all yours.
There is
that. For that.
Yeah. What have we created? Okay.
Impatience. Clearly.
There is this thing of also being able to stand. You know, if you are trying to be a good person, having been someone with a series of vices, of being able to stand on your own 2 feet without being surrounded by good people. It's a thing of prosperity. If he has, turned over a new leaf, he has to be able to cope with going out amongst the world and being able to live in it without falling into temptation. There's that element, I think, about it as well of the company you keep and whether you can withstand the vice and the potential around you and the excess.
Sorry, can I just?
Yes, Stefanie again.
Sorry, but this is really exciting now, due to the company tonight as well, and like throughout the week. So building up to this, I find I'm coming to an understanding that as an actor or as an ensemble, especially a touring company on the road, you would throughout gain an understanding of your audiences would be building up. So identifying the prudish one in the audience, identifying the sort of evil bastard, and identifying the prime minister or whoever in that audience. So if the leader of the household and all sorts of figures, all sorts of vice figures that are actually there in real life and virtuous figures or characters. And I find that's something I've in a way thought about or been thinking about in my directing beforehand, but not in terms of those early modern actors that they were really able to quickly identify who is there and who can we play with in which way.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have one more thing and then I gotta go. Is there time, Robert?
Yeah, you jump in.
I'm very quick. That when envy says to prosperity, off with this lewd array, it becometh you not by this day. Presumably that was the garment that peace gave him that changed him from poverty to prosperity. A few lines later, we've got prosperity saying, methinketh I am properly arrayed, which even though it's not in the text, sort of indicates that they've put something else on him or given him some kind of accessories or even if it's just like a party hat or something. So again, in a multi-rolling play, the way that clothes make the character, we've got prosperity reclothed, and I would be really interested to see where this goes. But sadly, I gotta go. But tomorrow I shall be with you. And thanks everyone. See you soon.
Thank you for joining us. Thank you for your input, and enjoy the rest of your evening.
And yours.
Take care, Lisa.
Off to the digestives.
Yeah.
Okay. And at that point, I think it's time to reintroduce peace into the scene. So chaos is occurring as you're all dancing. Go, peace.
What? Prosperity? Is it come here too?
What a devil of hell hast thou to do? Shall I not make merry when me list?
Yet I say, beware of had, I wist.
Hence, you knave, or else thou shalt lick my fist. I trow thy head would have some knocks.
Go, set him in a pair of stocks that I him no more see. Yet, man, I say remember thee, and think what I to thee have said. Eschew evermore these rioters' company, and be ruled by reason as I thee bade. Put from thee these two persons by whom thou art laid, envy and misrule, with their sinful and great abusion, which, if thou wilt not forsake, will be thy confusion.
I won't, Laurel, and take this for a conclusion. These men from me thou shalt not separate. Go out of my sight, or by cog's passion, I shall lay thee fast in Newgate.
It is better to forsake them betime than too late.
This knave would have a broken pate. Let me alone, by God's bread. The same sword shall strike off his head.
I pray you hence that he were rid. Shortly have him out of my sight.
A little while give me respite, and take heed what I do say. Remember in what condition thou was when I...
Oh, we've lost you, Pamela. Hello, Pamela.
We'll remember you.
Met
Hello.
in this place by the grace of God and continue to... Can you hear me at all?
You were very inny outy. Give us a line check now.
A little while give me respite, and take heed what I do say. Remember in what condition thou was when I first met thee in this place, full simple, in poor array. Now, by the grace of God and counsel of me, thou art come to great prosperity, and so mayest continue until thou die, if thou wisely take heed. Let not sensuality lead the bridle. Be occupied in virtue, and be not idle, the better shalt thou proceed. These wretches will thy goods spend and waste. Then shalt thou be taken for an outcast, and mocked and scorned with most and least. Then will no man thee help at need.
Ah, sir, evil mote thou speed, that so can read his destiny.
Will you suffer this knave in your company? Then God be with you. I will forsake you.
Go hence, or in faith I shall make you.
Then to Almighty God I betake you.
Let me come to that bragger. I shall thrust him through the arse with my dagger. How say you? Was not this a good face to drive a knave out of the place?
In faith?
And I'll just pause you there for a second. So yes, I apologise. I didn't read the stage direction, and here they force peace out of the place. So again, we have this moment of violence forcing the good out of the action. How active was prosperity during that little sequence? Because we've had this sort of scene before where the middle figure hasn't been as active, whereas the Vice is doing horrible things to people. Because this is what, third time this week we've had someone being manhandled or put in stocks. So how active was prosperity, did you feel, Stephen?
It's not got the initiative at all. Sort of rings are being run round, I think.
Yeah. I think that seems to be very much in lead. So we'll go from, and here they force peace out of the place. So Envy, could you pick up your line again? How say ye?
How say ye? Was not this a good face to drive a knave out of the place?
In faith, thou made him run apace. Thou lookest thou had been mad.
Now, by my troth, my heart is glad. Some minstrel now would we had to revel and dance, for by St. Chad I am so light, methink I flee.
Yea, marry, so should it be, for now I hold you wise.
So, and you will do mine advice. Let us go straight to the Fleur de Lys. There shall you find a man will play at dice with you for £100.
What man is he?
Colhazard came late from beyond the sea, ragged and torn in a gartered coat, and in his purse never a groat. And now he goeth like a lord.
I pray thee, tell me at one word, is he a gentleman, boy?
Tush, take no thought therefore, for be he gentleman, knave or boy, if he come hither with trifle or a toy, he can no money lack.
Now by the bread that God brack, I think long till I him see. Mirth, go before, ordain a good dish, one of flesh, another of fish.
Nay, let all be flesh, a young pullet, tender and nesh, that never came on broach, have with thee, or thou go.
What shall I have?
4 quarters of a knave, roasted upon a spit.
And exit Misrule. Prosperity? Oh, I think we've lost Stephen there for a second. Hello, Stephen. Are you there? Yes.
It keeps dropping. I'll tap my ear when it does it. It's doing it all the time.
Yeah, unfortunately, your image froze as well. So, so exit Misrule and go prosperity from there, please.
Now, by my troth and Colhazard will sit, I will play, as long as £100 will last.
And you will play £100 at a cast, he will keep you play.
Well, then let us go our way. I sit on thorns till I come there.
That shall make your thrift full, bear.
What will it do?
I say we shall have good cheer when we come there.
And they exit, and peace entereth alone.
When Phoebus draweth into the Occidental, and obscured with clouds misty and dark, herbs and grass, by course natural, want their chief comfort. Thus saith many a clerk, and likewise that a man in his work is destitute of reason following sensual operation. The last time I was in this place, prosperity unto Misrule put his whole confidence. He guarded not my counsel. He lacked grace, which in time coming shall turn him to inconvenience. With hazarders and rioters he keepeth residence, at clash and cards with all unthrifty game, which in continuance shall bring him shame. To him yet I will resort. If he be brought in poverty, I shall do him all the comfort and all the help that lieth in me. I will never rest till I him see, but seek about from place to place and bring him to some better grace.
And peace exits, and it's a slightly untidy sort of, and everyone exits, one person enters, does a speech and goes. I'm just wondering, is peace any black eyes on peace, do we think?
Very likely.
Yeah,
A shroud.
yeah. It doesn't really refer to the situation in that in terms of what's happened to peace, really, does it? It's still talking about others, which I suppose is what peace would do. We will crack on, however, as we are action is happening apace. So can we have the re-enter of Misrule, and in a moment we will have the entrance of Envy.
Colhazard, art thou there? Whoreson knave, wilt thou not appear? By my troth, I had even went to have found him here. I had him gone some other way. And where is Envy? I cannot him espy. I trow he is with Prosperity.
Enter Envy.
Prosperity! Nay, I may call him foolish poverty, as wise as a drake. I have brought him to dice, castle clash, and never on his side ran the loss, that he is not worth a handful of moss. Neither hath not a whole bratter's back.
Passion of God, is it come to that? These tidings maketh my heart glad.
In faith, he has neither gold, silver, nor plate. Colhazard and I be both at one. He promised me to have half the gain, that everything shall be divided in twain. He to have the one half, and I the other.
Then let us be partners, as brother and brother.
I cannot say till Colhazard come. Then shall we know both all and some.
Enter Colhazard.
Here is a bag of gold surround. Here is 2,000 pound of prosperity me at one. What man is able with me to make comparison? Now shall I take a merchant's place to occupy? I trust within short space to be in credence with Englishmen, and when I am so well betrust, I may borrow so much as me lust. A subtle craft, then find out day and the colour like free men.
Hark, this knave, so proud and stout, that had not to his arse a whole clout when he came to this land, and now hath brought about to compare with estate.
Now must I have half money and half plate?
Nay, by God, there thou spake too late. None thereof from me shall scape. Then had I lived too long.
Thou promised me, when thou began, half thy winning I should have.
Hold thy peace, lewd knave. speak.
And just, Colhazard, you just dropped out on that last line. Hold thy peace again, please.
Yes. Hold thy peace, lewd knave. Knowest thou to whom thou dost speak?
Orphan, the head shall I break.
For the passion of God, sober your mood. I fear shedding of knaves' blood.
Here they fight and run all about the place, and then entereth prosperity, poorly clad, and saith,
Oh, Jesu, what may this mean? My goods are spent and wasted away. Also, my men are from me clean. I see them not this 7 nights' stay. As long as I might spend and pay, they held me up with false dissimulation. And now they forsake me in my most tribulation.
Envy returneth, followed by Misrule.
Come, for cock's bones, why tarry ye so long?
In faith, I come as fast as I can. Oh, I'm so angry, I wot not what to do, that yonder knave escaped from me so.
What knave is this? I hold him some spy.
I am your master. Know ye not me?
Thou art come late out of Marshalsea.
Methink his hair groweth through his hood.
Alas, Colhazard hath won all my good and left me never a groat.
Marry, so methink ye have changed your coat, but now you have one vantage.
What is that?
Your executors shall not strive for your goods another day, nor thieves shall not rob you going by the way. Thus you shall stand out of doubt.
Hence, ragged knave, or thou shalt bear me a clout. His clothes smell all of the smoke.
Now, by St. Hugh, that holy bishop, this matter is well brought to pass. He is now a knave as he was. First a knave, and then a man. And now he is a knave again.
Why say ye so? Ye be to blame. I am your master Prosperity.
Avaunt, laurel, and evil to thee. Get thee out of this company. Beginnest thou not to make comparison?
Let him be your underpage. Give him meat and drink, but no wage. Go, brush his gown and make clean his shoon.
Well, knave, canst thou know courtesy?
He hath such a disease in his knee, he cannot chance a main groat. It is not as ye ween.
Come see my shoon made clean.
By my faith, he shall wipe mine.
This knave is not meet for me. It grieveth my heart when I am sick. I will go hence and leave you twain for envy. Thou mayest with poverty reign.
Nay.
Exit Misrule. Envy is left for a couple of lines.
Nay, I had liever he was slain. I am gone as soon as ye.
And exit Envy. So we have this sudden reversal of Prosperity's situation there. Obviously, having gone to debtor's prison. After, of course, we have the action of a bit of fighting and activity going on between the various sort of just the sort of random character of Colhazard just popping in there for the fight. Any thoughts about that little sequence before we go into the final straight that we're coming to with Poverty Speech?
No, just a general observation about characters off stage or in the audience if it were a promenade performance. I find it's really interesting sort of being able to watch all of you or take a glance of you and your reactions, and also of myself. Like when you're not speaking, you can easily step back and be seen as somebody totally irrational. And I really like, it's exciting, that difference, to be on stage at the same time, though you're off stage, and there is some real rationality to be observed in that character, or that bit that's also part of the character, sort of the persona of the character.
Mm-hmm. Other thoughts in the room? Do I see Emily, you haven't said anything for a
No,
while.
I just love the conversation going on. I just, there's always that one small character that's only here for one moment, causes more chaos, and then leaves without getting any further character development. And as it's a trope that I love to say, they're just here for the fun and then they're out again. Those are my thoughts.
Yes, there's still that bittiness. Do I see William gesticulating?
First of all, I'm having terrible connectivity problems, so it keeps coming into you guys being slow like this. But whatever. This whole thing is very much reminding me. It's almost like Two Gents is a premonition of. Oh, sorry, that name. As a play. Thank you very much. So basically, it's a premonition of Robert Greene's Cuthbert the Connie Catcher. If you're looking at what's happening in 1570s, 1580s in London at that time, you know, they were literally setting people up on the way into the city with groups of people, taking them into the taverns to play dice, cards, whatever it was, and then bringing in characters like Colhazard, who comes in by chance, by hazard, and then sits down and cleans out the pot, which is what's happening to poverty, impatient poverty, posterity, back to poverty again. So this whole thing is kind of like a trope that's happening for social thing. That's all.
Oh, that was really helpful. That really sums up. There are a few other interludes from the time which touch on effectively various different kinds of cons, and you've got short cons and long cons and tricks that you get. We've done quite a few fragments that deal with con setups, and then in court when you're talking politics, you've got when people are pretending to be different characters or pretending to be things. There's another kind of conning going on.
Exactly.
And yeah, that's a really good point. Anyone else before we go into the final straight? We do seem to be having quite a few connectivity issues this night, so I think we'll try and get to the end and hope we can discuss then. So, poverty, you get a little soliloquy before the entrance of the summoner.
Abide still with me, gentle charity. Oh, to whom should I sue? To whom should I plet? Oh, mortal worm, wrapped all in woe. As a man all mortified and mazed in my wit, I, a captive in captivity, lo, fortune is my foe. I am in endless sorrow. Alas, what shall I do? These caitiffs, through their counsel and false imagination, have brought me to naught that was of great reputation. Woe worth the time that I them knew. I may well sigh and say, alas, for now I find these words full true, that peace showed me here in this place. I regarded not his counsel, I lacked grace, wherefore needy poverty on me doth blow his horn, that every man and woman doth laugh me to scorn. Example to all young men, when they take in hand to occupy in the world, for your behoof look wisely before, and also understand evil company destroyeth man. On me, you see the proof. Make a sure foundation ere ye set up the roof. For good and virtuous beginning cometh a good ending, and evermore beware of unmeasurable spending.
And here entereth the summoner.
I excite you in our court to appear.
I pray you tell me wherefore.
Ye be great slanderer and full of envy.
Oh, there will no man say so, but ye.
What wilt thou give me, and thou shalt go quit?
By my troth, I have not one mite.
Then open penance, and thou art like.
By my troth, I slander no man.
Then come and secure thyself as well as thou can.
Okay, so they go out and
Yes.
hit. Yeah.
Sorry, I was attempting to do that, but I'd forgotten I got mute. Yes, so they go out, and abundance entereth. So can we have the entrance of abundance to break up what they're about to set up?
What man is he that can me dismay? For I obtain all thing at my will, or who dare anything against me say, whatsoever I do, be it good or ill. For if he do, he were better be still. I shall punish him, be it right or wrong, for with my purse I can both save and hang. To repugn against me, he were better be still. I have a proper trull for my pastance. In my chamber I her keep, both night and day. My neighbours therewith taketh great grievance, yet I keep her still, whosoever say nay. Howbeit, there is one, a poor caitiff I hear say, hath me accused in the court spiritual, and it cost me £100. Punish him I shall.
And the sumner returneth.
Open sin must have open penance. God speed, my master Abundance.
What knave art thou with a very mischance that cometh in so homely?
Sir, I pray you be not angry. I am an officer of the spirituality. There is upon you a great slander. Ye keep another man's wife in your chamber and live in great adultery.
What wretches doth so say by me?
It is openly known everywhere. Before my master I charge you to appear. Upon a book there shall ye swear whether it be so or no.
What is the best for me to do? Rather than I to the court will go, I had liever spend £20.
Sir, of such a way may be found to excuse you. What will ye say then?
Now thereof heartily I thee pray.
Ye shall come home to my master's place, and say that ye be put up of malice. Thrust money in his hand apace, and so shall ye go quit away.
For thy counsel, gramercy. Hold, here is 40 pence.
Come on, sir, I will do my diligence.
And they exit, and then here entereth the sumner again. So it's a question of, is there something to fill the gap here? It's slightly odd that everybody sort of exits and then comes awkwardly back on again. Is there music? Is there something missing? Has this text been cut in some way prior to ending up in print? There's lots of questions which I don't think we need to worry about answering. Here entereth the sumner again, and poverty followeth him with a candle in his hand, doing penance about the place. And then saith the sumner,
Room, sirs, avoidance, that this man may do his penance.
Now I have my penance done.
Nay, thou shalt about once again.
The poverty and trouble that I endure, I cannot to you in a few words express. If it should be unto God no displeasure, I would desire death, my pain to release. Such is my penury and troublesome heaviness, that I could in no wise suffer it patiently, but that I trust to win heaven thereby.
and peace entereth.
What man art thou that maketh such lamentation?
Master Peace, I desire you of pardon. I am your servant, sometime called Prosperity.
How came you to this perplexity?
Colhazard, misrule, and false envy brought me to this distress.
I showed thee before, plain, express. Then of my words thou hadst disdain.
Therefore now it is to me great pain.
What persons are those that did him accuse?
Sir, he is put up by suit of office.
Suit of office? Then it is so. There had been credible persons 3 or 2. Such articles to the judge did show. He ought thereto to have good respect, and do swear these persons upon a book. For love, ne dread, they say but true. For it is not lawful for a callet, a caitiff, or a knave against honest persons such matters for to have, to put a man to open penance without due proof.
Sir, when I entered mine office, this was my oath, to hearken about and hear for backbiters, slanderers, and false jurors, schismatics, homicides, and great usurers, bawds, adulterers, fornicators, and escheaters. All such must do penance. Must penance do.
I know one such came never thereto.
Who is that?
Well, his name is called Abundance, which hath done many a great offence, for he keepeth another man's wife. No manner of penance ye make him do, but redeemeth with money and let him go. So in advertry still he leadeth his life.
He made his purgation upon a book, or else redeemed with the silver hook.
Silver hook? That I deny, for it is a plain decree that open sin must do open punishment. There can be no such judgment that money shall stop the law.
Oh, we've lost you, Stephen. Hello, Stephen.
Aye, sorry.
That's all right.
Hey, there stop and lay a straw. Where see ye any man a substance put to open penance, but punished by the purse? A poor man that hath naught to pay, he shall be punished. This ye see every day. But if he be obstinate and will not obey, anon they will him curse.
Well, for thy saying, another day thou shalt fare worse.
And exit the Sumner.
Sir, I beseech you, comfort me with some solace.
Thou art well punished for thy trespass. By thine own sensual and undiscreet operation hath brought thee to all this tribulation. Stand up. With this vesture I shall thee renew.
Sir, I thank you, and will do at your reformation. And for my time misspent, I am sore ashamed.
If ye do as I you bid, ye shall not be blamed. Forsake envy and misrule with all their old peers. Be conversant with good men. Goodness thereof will grow. Follow the saying of David, cum sancto sanctus eris, for wicked men ever more wicked seed do sow. What cometh of evil company, now thyself doth know. Print it well in thy memory, and do it not forget. Many a man doth decay for lack of good forewit.
Sir, your sayings is full true. I have perceived it, and for the virtuous counsel that ye to me have give, I shall be your orator while I have a day to live.
Sovereigns, here may ye see proved before you all of this wanton world the great fragility, ever mutable of the turning, as a bowl. Now, flood of riches, now, ebb of poverty. What should men set by this world's vanity? Think on this lesson and do it not forget. The gayest of us all is but worm's meat.
With the supportation of this noble audience, we have here showed this simple interlude, beseeching you of your benevolence to take patience. It is but a mirror, vice to exclude. The maker hereof, his intent was good, no man to displease, old nor young. If any fault be therein, we desire you of pardon.
Let us pray all to that Lord of great magnificence, to send among us rest, peace, and unity, And Jesu preserve our sovereign queen of pre-Clare preeminence with all her noble consanguinity, and to send them grace to the issue to obtain, after them to rule this most Christian realm. O good Lord, as thou art omnipotent, have regard unto my petition. Conserve this noble realm and all that are present. Of thy eternal deity grant them all thy fruition, and from our mortal enemies be our protection. Jesu, as thou us redeemed, bring us to the blessed, thereas angels sing, Gloria in excelsis. Amen.
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 Thus endeth the interlude called Impatient Poverty. And all the way through, I've been feeling, little nudges again of every man as an exemplar.
Yes.
There's a couple of just little in that epilogue there, old or young. We're going to appeal to all ages. That's part of either the prologue or the epilogue to Every Man, as I recall. I felt that connection with goods in Every Man, with the money sort of vice figures in this. But in that sense, it's not actually explicitly copying it in any way, shape, or form, apart from just little thematic things. It's a little borrow that probably the author didn't even know was there, or maybe actually borrowed elsewhere, and it's just in circulation. And we've got clothes again. We've got an much more explicit change of costuming again. So, that's where the money goes. It's very bitty to my mind. It's got lots of good material, but it doesn't quite feel like a whole. And that sudden break where everyone just walks off stage and then someone who just walked off stage walks back on again just throws big red flags at me that there's something hinky about this text. But what it is, I do not know. Thoughts, please, from the room.
I mean, I think possibly, but I also think it's very possible that just in the close quarters, it was literally just to turn around, pick up a prop, and walk in. I mean, I certainly can see your point where it feels hinky, and at the same time, I could see this being played or staged effectively with a loop. I just think there's room there for the possibility that maybe the text just isn't as strong there, but it's still complete, whether or not that's good.
Yeah.
So.
Oh yes, I'm not putting forward that as a certainty. It's just as a talking point. Who's next? Emily, give us your. Have you got any thoughts?
I mean, it definitely feels like I throughout all this time I was definitely thinking Everyman. Like they're not like siblings, but they're closely related, and there's a lot of both themes and character types. It even has that happy ending where the main character is redeemed, and it's okay, all's well. But it's so much more episodic, and I think you pointed that out yesterday, Robert, that a lot of these interludes feel just sketches pulled together and brought in, which I'm not surprised. And I can't wait to see with Health and Wealth tomorrow how it falls in with that nature, really.
Yes, I should just point out to everyone that it's Wealth and Health. That was a typo that I sent out into the world. So, no, it's my fault. I sent it out there. But I did double check. It is Wealth and Health, not Health and Wealth. Yeah. That said, does every man really end happily? He does die.
Yeah, but he's been redeemed. It's like he dropped the bad company and he went with the good company. So in a way,
and that everyone forsook him at the end, apart from his good deeds. For those who we haven't done Every Man, oddly enough, we haven't done it. I did it as a one-man show years ago, and I still keep it in my gander bag, but I haven't actually finished a recording on that. So that might come into the mix in the future if people fancy us doing that, because it seems to be a touchstone for these plays. it had a very good publishing history, obviously, so it was about a lot. Other thoughts about, yes, William?
Well, I was just thinking, it's many years since I did it also, but the prodigal son, this is also kind of foreshadowing the prodigal son.
Mm-hmm.
That play too is another one which ends, he goes through all of this turmoil, is taught his own lesson, and then indeed is redeemed at the end of the play. So, there's the episodic nature of these interludes suddenly reminded me also of like the plots that you get from Commedia dell'arte, where they have something that is absolutely something to be riffed upon. Again, with the the hinkiness of the turnaround there, right there. I mean, we're unaware.
Oh, we've lost you.
And in what the circumstances were. Oh, bugger.
Yeah.
It's, I don't know where I was.
You just literally...
We're unaware of where they were performed.
Mm.
So that's really, and the episodic nature of these things, of how much, I don't think there was any extra text put into these things, or could that also have been? Is this the fixed and final text, or is this something to riff off of also?
I would not be surprised if there's improvisation as part of this. I don't get the impression that that there isn't lots of room for improvisation and extempore action.
Right.
That's always how I've felt about a lot of these texts. Not all of them. Some of them feel very, very, very fixed. But there are games often going on. Any other thoughts about that from the room? Stephen, do you have a thought on how much improvisation might have existed?
Well, there are lots of moments, aren't there, where the actors have got to go out to the audience in one way or in another. So I'm guessing, that they would be dropping into that a lot more than the text explicitly tells us. It's that kind of thing, isn't it? And I'm thinking of something like Wakefield Second Shepherds. It does kind of chunk into the holy bit, which is done absolutely straight when they're talking to an angel, and the kind of the shepherds bits which are much looser. And it feels a little bit like that, doesn't it? It's difficult for us to take, but I think that's possibly just to do with the historical distance. I think the mysteries are full of that sort of switching, which is sort of from the world of the play to the world of the audience and back again. So it's difficult not to, because so much of it works now. It's difficult not to just import all of our assumptions about what's realistic or what flows or what a journey might look like.
Talking about because we've talked many a time about how difficult the good characters are. I really quite liked Peace, and I thought Peace had more of a journey than some of the more po-faced good characters that we've had in the past. Pamela, how was that for you? Because I don't want to leave you out just because you're silent.
Sorry, I feel like I have missed so much of the play today because I've kept dropping in and out of it. It's very, very different because the two parts obviously I played earlier in the week were the kind of vice characters, and so being good is way less fun. But I mean, it was kind of nice to come in and out and to, I guess, what am I trying to say? It was kind of nice to get to play that character who then is also so forgiving that no matter how many times you've told this person the exact same thing, that you can be that understanding and again give him the new frickin' coat and again tell him he's going to be prosperous, and the patience that has, which I do not have, and I've been getting more and more stressed out tonight with my Wi-Fi, and so I apologize, I'm getting a bit stroppy, but yeah, I'm trying to learn from Peace to be a better person.
I think I do love the way that people apologise for their Wi-Fi, like somehow that you're doing it wrong. Like...
Oh no! I'm not apologising for the Wi-Fi. I'm apologising that I got snippy about the Wi-Fi.
Have you sacrificed a chicken this evening?
Well, I might be sacrificing my flatmate soon. You never know.
What I liked about Peace's performance, if we put it like that, is that it felt like verse in a sense. It was very, very measured, very paced, and it felt like there was an adult in the room. And you had, almost literally trying to calm everything down, because it felt like we had quite a good flow going elsewhere. It was quite snappy. There was quite a lot of animation, and then the way Peace was performed, it was just so measured, and breath, and next line, and there wasn't any of that was going on so much elsewhere. And I thought that actually worked in terms of the function of Peace really nicely. So I was sort of aware of the pacing changing when Peace was there, but that was because of the way you actually did Peace, I think.
And just to take a step further on that, because of course the actor playing Peace was also if we go with the original doubling, Peace and Colhazard and Conscience. So you've got a sort of good person sandwiching you are given a range of characters to play, actually, or you would be. Because Colhazard is so fundamentally different to Peace and Conscience, and that's great. Because I'm just sort of think we should talk about the potential doubling, and what that makes an actor do. Who was playing Conscience again? Sorry,
I was.
Yes. So, how did you feel? Conscience felt similar to Peace, or Peace? Did you feel like you were? What were the differences between Peace and Conscience?
I didn't feel that Conscience and Peace was as. Stephen was saying, had this lovely kind of like softness and rhythm and calm. Conscience, I said to you at the beginning, when I just had a quick read through Conscience this afternoon just to see what it was I was going to be reading, and he immediately reminded me of various matrons I have known, who have said, oh, must you? Do you really need to do that? There's that kind of, I don't know, Conscience seemed to have a much more hectic energy to Peace. And then also, of course, Conscience is far more fallible because, Peace is measured, Peace is calm, Peace is almost the sort of, bird flying over the forest can look down and see the whole picture, whereas Conscience is embroiled in it. And
Conscience has to make decisions.
Conscience has to make decisions, and ultimately, makes the wrong decision because, he does get hoodwinked by envy, and Conscience flees. So, I felt there was quite a big difference in the energy between them.
Because, of course, it's not just, conscience as in doing right or wrong. It's just a consciousness almost.
Yeah.
It's the reason. So it's not a virtue figure in explicit terms. It is fallible. It is swayable.
Yeah.
So that actor has I think a really good set of characters to play with there. Actually,
Yeah.
Peace, Colhazard, and Conscience. That's a really nice range.
It is. Yeah.
Nice. Whereas let's look at.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'll come to you, Stefanie, because we're going to come to you in just a second. Because the next combination is Abundance and Misrule.
Oh, yes.
And they are, again, similar but different, which is a thing. We're losing William, by the way. Thank you very much, William.
Bye,
William.
William.
See you tomorrow.
See you tomorrow.
Bye then.
So, Stefanie, how did you find Misrule?
Very. I think, as I said earlier on, I really enjoyed but not in entertaining terms, but sort of in a very unusual way, in a very rational way, the almost the discrepancy between sort of the rational standing aside and looking on before the character came on, or afterwards, or while it or they were listening, and then for Misrule to enter in character in terms of the white man and with everything that comes with its tradition. And I think that's really that's something quite not entirely new for me, because I've played Puck, so I'm kind of familiar with this stock character's sense for timing or bodily timing, and really listening in and being able to hold back on the energy and then unleash it like wild horses, but also being able to manage these horses and master them again. And I really like this about the character, and I think that's something I find quite illuminating about all of these characters. That's something I wanted to say earlier on about Conscience. That moment when you impersonated somebody from real life, and that was quite a sinister aspect of your character, the ability to listen in and not be so peaceful as to let go of all these non-PC voiceovers, impersonations, but being with it and playing with it. That was really good. That one sentence, very well listened to. Sorry that I say it this way, but it's true.
Oh, lovely. So, I say Misrule doubling with Abundance. Abundance, how did you find your character, and in relation to Stefanie's character as well? So, you know, in the sense that you're both potentially played by the same actor.
Okay, so yes, I do see there's a lot of similarity, you know, especially, you know, with the way Abundance is, you know, he doesn't have a care in the world, let's face it. He's almost, in a way, if you kind of follow the whole thing with people with wealth, they do, as a whole, and I know I'm maybe making assumptions here, but in Elizabethan plays, they are depicted as people who are so selfish. They really don't care what they do with their life or their money, or even how they spend it, or how it affects people. So it's like a one-track sort of character. But again, you know, reading Abundance, for me, it was very fun to play, because you've got that whole wherewithal if you wanted to, you know, especially in the argument between him and Conscience. It's that whole thing with, yeah, come on, Conscience, give it, yeah. It's almost like it's a constant goad, you know, it's almost like a petulant child throwing the toys out the pram, so to speak. But then if you then imagine the actor who's playing that character then changing into Misrule, you've got a whole different jump altogether, because whilst you've got a petulant child, in a way, Misrule is almost like the fool in the tarot deck. Those of you who read tarot, or anybody who's watching or listening out there, the fool in the tarot deck has no boundaries whatsoever. It's a character that's very much about living the life to the fullest. You have no regrets, no boundaries whatsoever. And if you get an actor who's playing both roles, what you have to distinguish is how much to hold back when you're playing Abundance, you know, this selfish coward, so to speak, as opposed to Misrule, who is very much the fool in the tarot / stereotypical drunkard in these Elizabethan and Jacobean texts, who are just completely out there. They're out there to cause mischief. So again, it's very aptly cast. And it does make you wonder, in the context, like, please, you know, let us know what you think as well. But in a way, the actor playing both roles gets to explore money, but in different respects. So you've got Abundance, who just splashes the cash on his own personal favour, you know, and doesn't care how it affects people. And then you've got Misrule. Oh yeah, and even as well, especially when he's talking about actually having somebody else's wife in his own house, you know. So it's very greedy. Actually, he's got a lot of greed going for him. And then going straight to Misrule, all you've got is one vice: alcohol, mischief, rule. You know, it's very much like if you were playing a drunken lord in a tavern, so to speak, but with less boundary, so to speak. So the actor playing both roles would have to find that balance between these two extremes, I think, anyway. But I tell you what, great fun to play again, as always. And it was lovely as well, just sitting back and listening and watching these reactions, so to speak, as well. Because even as an actress, you know, I've played multiple roles before in certain things, but in doing it this way, it's actually made me think a lot more about the psychological background an actor would have to bring to something like that with very similar vices. How far do you push them? How far do you hold them back? So it's a lot of food for thought there, I think.
I'm just going to move us on to the last combination of characters, Envy and the Sumner, because Envy is obviously a massive part, and the Sumner is very, very, very small, and it's like it's a very interesting combination. Let's just talk Envy. How's Envy for you, sir?
It's a really great part. It's interesting hearing people talk about the psychology behind it, because I suppose psychology is something I associate more with Stanislavski, and it's something I would try not to think about if I was doing a play by the play with the person whose name I must not mention. I mean, to share with you, my way of learning script for a play like that is to learn it as a monologue. I don't want to know what other people are saying, because that was kind of the OP as far as I know. What I find interesting about Envy is it's very difficult to not play him as a sort of, it's very difficult not to be coloured by modern inflections of villains, be those Disney villains or pantomime villains, in that he comes across as a kind of deadpan snarker, that he is quite knowledgeable. He seems quite above the action. He's almost Machiavellian and puppeteering these things, and sort of seems to get away relatively consequence-free, and is obviously totally showboating to the audience. Very interesting in the way that characters have other personae put on them and taken off. And because he does run all the way through and he only comes back as the Sumner at the end, he almost gets a liberty in kind of, when he's pretending to be Charity, that it's very interesting to think how that would be done. If all the costume changes are done simplistically, is his uber simplistic? Is it literally like a wicked queen in Snow White putting on a hood and holding an apple and doing a funny voice, that it's kind of,
it did feel like that, didn't it?
Absolutely. That he gets away with it because he kind of does it with aplomb, and the audience are in on the joke. And the other characters sort of buy it and react to him as if he is genuinely playing a fleshed out psychological version of Charity. But it's interesting that he sort of disappears and is then brought back as the Sumner. And I guess they felt like the most natural pairing to me in a way. They didn't seem as disparate as maybe Abundance and Misrule and Stefanie, Peace and Colhazard.
Because Envy doesn't really go anywhere after that, and that's the odd thing. It's like it's setting up, and like we said at the time, you know, are we being introduced to plot? No, we weren't.
Setting up a sequel.
It just completely moved on. I just really want to talk about the Sumner, because the Sumner is such a weird character, really interesting character, and what's going on with the Sumner? Some thoughts, people.
Somebody tell me, please.
He was quite Chaucerian, wasn't he? I thought.
Yes, yeah, absolutely.
He's almost like Judgment in a way, because you know, he brings poverty to justice.
Right.
But at the same time, he's easily paid off by abundance, you know, so, you know, it shows that it's that kind of corrupt world that you're going into as well.
Yeah, he reminded me of those corrupt Chaucer characters, who are like, paying off the bribing and paying off for their sins and just basically doing whatever the hell they want, and then just having this very holy or righteous facade, and then behind it all there's just all this filth and corruption going on. He really reminded me of Chaucer in that way.
Yeah.
Well, not Chaucer himself. I'm sure Chaucer was unimpeachable, but
well,
Chaucer's characters.
There's some debate about that. It gets picked up by lots of later writers as well. And abuse of the clergy is something that's very, very big. John Hayward, again, who we've done a lot on. There's an awful lot of very, very corrupt clergymen and officers of courts and things like that, and the whole system is rigged, man. The system's rigged. And it's a really good point, which brings us back round to poor poverty at the end, because it really is quite pitiful, that end. Actually, it's not even though you're sort of saved, you're not. Are you really saved at the end? How saved are you? It's not like you suddenly get given a pot of gold and everything's happy, hunky-dory. You're sort of still a bit screwed, I think. I don't know. Am I overstating that? It's quite an odd
very
ending.
Materialistic of you, I think.
I know.
Well, or, I mean, it's also...
You've not been listening.
No, I've not been paying enough attention. No, I'm sorry.
I mean, I think that's so much, though, the state of this type of play, which is everyone ends where they began. There's not a ton of change. You might see the moralistic lesson, but they are their names through and through, right? Isn't that kind of the idea?
Well, he gets his name as Prosperity again at the end. Yeah. So, his name, it is that thing, what's in a name?
It's a different kind of prosperity, though, isn't it? It's like,
yes,
it's like he's traded external material riches for a rich inner life. So, yeah.
And then totally breaks and does the epilogue at the end, and it's just, and now it's the epilogue, which I really liked. Emily, do you have any thoughts? Because I do want to wind this up now, because time is running on.
Of course, and to end it with the epilogue, I strongly think that this had to, I was thinking a lot about where would this be played? Would this be played in a school, in a guild hall? I don't know. I'm kind of tempted by the court, because Peace addresses the sovereigns directly and speaks to them, and I'm like, well, it could be a possibility this was played in court, and giving, of course, high praise to the royals. So, of course, it can be said anywhere you wish. But I don't know. I like to believe this could have been a court performance, in my mind.
Yeah, it felt like that to me, too. It felt like a court performance. Oh, unless, of course, the reference to the Fleur de Lis, which I assume is a pub.
Yeah.
Unless they were actually in the Fleur de Lis, maybe.
I mean, I like the pub. I like it. Stick with that idea.
Flexi play, maybe? Flexi play?
Yeah, I think with on all of these plays, we're usually looking for a specific reason for the play to happen. There'll be some specific entertainment for someone, and then it has a hinterland afterwards. And I don't know if it was the way the epilogue is worded seems to be a more generic pray to the Queen. It doesn't quite suggest. I don't know if I'm that's my reading, but it could be. I mean, we just don't have any evidence.
Yeah, it's possible.
Yeah, it could be. It could have been. The Queen definitely was. She was definitely there. Definitely
yes.
there.
In spirit.
We have it on paper. It's right here.
Definitely
yeah,
there.
It's there.
Okay, final thoughts about this one. Any thoughts about how you might try to perform it or adapt it today? We've already had a plea for an improvised version.
These are certainly living up to their name. Interludes. They're falling in that weird space between what came before and what we know will come after. And I think today you'd have to give some nods to the things that came after. He who shall not be named, right? We can't say that name. So
Anybody else?
So it's not about the hinterland so much, but the aboveland of the heavens. And you could have a panto version, or I don't know, version of cutout cardboard performing Midsummer Night's Dream, so from the heavens and from below every man. Sorry, not quite, but I'm just kind of thinking about this, about the hierarchies, hierarchies of thinking, of our thoughts, how our ideas of those characters evolve, and could be interesting. More in a William Kentridge way, that is. Sorry.
Actually, with this one, I'd like to go quite simple and modern with it, in the sense that, in the sense of the gender switching. I mean, it would be interesting in a weird sort of way if you put the more obvious male characters into a female role. Say if we take Abundance, for instance, what if Abundance was actually played as a top-notch business-like lesbian who happens to be doing a 50 Shades type thing with this woman from this other person's marriage? There's all sorts I think you could be playing with, I think, in terms of the gender stereotype and that kind of thing. If you were to bring it up to a modern context audience, I think it would be fitting in quite well with that, especially if you were to streamline it and keep it, look, this is a moralistic play, you'd be looking at, from humble beginnings to court to then coming back down again, but done in completely modern dress, gender switching, all that kind of thing as well. I think it could be quite interesting to look at that in terms of the mindset shift, possibly, where that's concerned, characterization-wise.
Anything else, ladies and gentlemen, before we sign off for the evening?
I'm all good.
I'm all good. Excellent. Right. Well, I will then stop the recording before we do housekeeping. Thank you very much for your wonderful performances tonight and all our battling with sound. But I think we got through to the other side and came up with some really interesting thoughts about a play that, I say, genuinely have very little data on. So it's nice to add to our knowledge. Thank you very much, and good night, everyone.
Good night.
Night.
Bye.